Alright, we need to talk about caravans. They really suck right now. Hello everyone and welcome back. So caravans are a major feature for two races in Total War Warhammer 3. Grand Cathay, which is where they were introduced, and the Chaos Dwarfs. So that means that this is a mechanic available to two major factions from Game 3, and to be honest, two major factions overall in the lore. Now, caravans have never really been good, but they've been getting progressively worse as the game has evolved. Creative Assembly really need to fix this, and we're going to go into a fresh campaign at the beginning on hard, because that's usually how I like to play the game when I'm streaming, so I can chat with you guys. And I realized this yesterday when I was playing Araby. So yeah, the modded faction just has bad caravans too. So let's talk about that. So in most cases, you can send caravans right from turn 1. And this is a lord and a small army that you really have no proper control of other than battles, as these will move independently to get to your, well, destination of choice, to pick up an item, usually quite powerful, and other resources. I'm using Bertsche as an example here because she's the newest legendary lord and it makes sense as more resources are tied to her, especially stuff which is really essential to her gameplay. So, you would get your caravan, you'd recruit the one that you want, send them out to whichever you wish, and that takes a few turns, right? 6, 4, 9 turns. It very much depends, and sometimes events will push them out even further. There's risks, obviously, because these armies are still belonging to you, which means that sometimes you can get some events popping up, some armies fighting you, and the rest. This also does come into player bias, by the way, as factions will then discover you as your caravans will start moving, and not only that, well, it becomes a problem when a core mechanic ends up becoming nullified very early into your campaign. So, once you start your brand new caravan and send them off, you can then play the campaign as per usual. Takeover settlements is kind of like a set and forget thing until some pop-ups happen, and pop-ups will regularly happen. There's kind of like 3 levels of pop-ups. One is like, oh yeah, you know, stop for a turn but get some extra cargo. Second one is kind of like, oh yeah, you know, pay some money, get some units, sometimes one of yours from your faction and race, or sometimes from a different faction, because you can end up with some you know, ogre hunters or the rest, and then the others, it's just like out warfare there, which is where the problem starts to arise, as very early on you'll start getting some ambushes, you'll start dealing with enemies just coming from all over the place, and I find that really frustrating. Early on it doesn't really matter too much, and when I say early on I mean like the first 10 turns of your game, but things start getting worse afterwards. The beginning ambushes are more than enough to deal with Bertsche. I feel like Bertsche has the best in terms of that, because you're dealing with Tiger Warriors, and Tiger Warriors are slightly overtuned in terms of damage, and much better to deal with, say, for example, Ogres. The Cathayan ones in general can be kind of bad depending on what you get, but an ambush to a Peasant stack caravan, or one that focuses on range, yeah, that's the end of your caravan very early on. And believe me, that happens fairly often, but there's still more to talk about. So you'll get some events here which will allow you to stay still for an extra turn and get some more cargo. Keep in mind that if you've got a certain amount of cargo, it will not go over. I'm going to do that for that purpose, just to make it last longer, because if you take longer, there's a higher chance of you getting attacked. There is risk and reward over there, which sometimes when you get attacked, it's perfectly fine. The ogre tribe attacking me is one of those minor ones, so it's just like generic ogre kingdoms. I don't have to worry too much about that. This is easy enough to kill. But there's factors there if you want to get into that combat or not, and in most cases you're going to want to, because if you do get attacked, you don't want to lose that garrison. The factors would be if you've fought before, or if you've been taking attrition damage, because there are cases where you can take some pretty nasty attrition damage. But here we are with turn 9. It's taken a few turns because I went for a long one, and we are done with our first caravan. What goes on now? Well, we can send over a second one. And now you'll notice where the issue comes up, right? So, a lot of the areas are red or yellow, which already has a decent amount of chance that you're going to be dealing with enemies. There's also the factor below that, which is like the bandit usage. Essentially, the more that you travel through a route, well, you're going to have to deal with the potential of bandits attacking you and losing your caravan. The big factor that comes in here, though, is that you start off a fresh caravan and it's going to be in its weakest position, right? Sometimes they'll have a few more units, but, I mean, this one is an alchemist and a bunch of peasants. Peasants aren't going to do well when you go through a next route and you get potentially attacked. A lot of your caravans are stuck with that. Getting new units for a caravan is incredibly inconsistent, which means that you're kind of stuck having to hope. And here you can see that in Marienburg for Bershiva is one of the brand new items, right? It's her new resource, which you use for faction-wide bonuses for your Tigermen. But the problem is that now there is a risk. I have to take a long amount of turns, I think it's around 9 turns, to get there, and the movement is going to focus around areas which are already going to be high risk, high reward situations. You don't want that. You clearly don't want that. But if you don't go for it, well, there's a chance that it'll just reset and then you'll lose out on that item. It'll pop up again because they do pop up a lot with the caravans. It's just kind of RNG focused. However, this is where things become problematic. This is turn 11 and my caravan is already useless. Yeah, I'm being attacked by a minor tribe there. It's kind of like one of those bandit stuff. That sucks. That really sucks. I cannot fight against these guys. Obviously, I have the treasury. Thankfully, I have the treasury, I think is better yet said. But in some cases, a lot of players will spend as much money as possible to upgrade your troops, buy new buildings, and the rest. They won't have this treasury held back. Caravans are pretty lucrative, but only when they start to work. So effectively, I know that this caravan is doomed. I can survive this, but I know that the caravan is doomed now. I don't know if this is a game engine issue, but once you start getting those events pop up, you know that it's just going to be the end. So here comes some Chaos Dwarfs, minor faction, no, Legions of Asgore. Which, by the way, this means I'm at war with the Legions of Asgore. A major faction now goes at war with me, but even the minor factions in-game can go at war with you, and they will become active. With Bershiva alone, I've seen the overlords of Zarnagrund, right? So, like, the major minor faction there, they don't really become active. They're supposed to stay still because it's part of the whole Chaos Dwarf campaign. Well, no, they become active and they can attack you. It's probably just specific to Bershiva, but it's really odd. But yeah, this means that the Legions of Asgore are now fighting with me. Player bias kicks in a little bit sometimes too, and they will come for me. I've seen this happen many times before. Now, the problem here is that you're dealing with the Chaos Dwarfs, and now they'll have bombardments, and they'll remove units. I could have easily skipped that battle and lost the peasant, but that means I'm losing another unit from this caravan, which there's no proper way to replenish. Now, this is still going to be a major problem, because even if I win here, there's a big chance that they'll attack me again and again and again. I won. I lost the whole archer unit, which really sucks. But hey, you know, better that than one of my Tiger Warriors. You know, one of the actual useful units in this army, because the army's not great overall. And by the way, yes, when a faction, a specific faction ends up attacking your caravan, they just end up at war with you, which really sucks because I don't want that to happen. Especially as that faction's got better things to worry about, and so do I. But, yeah, I survived the original encounter. Now they've got an army. Their armies can target me. Meaning that that area is now absolutely useless to me because I can't defend myself against a full stack, even if it is just like peasants, because they will have the bombardments and the rest. And you're probably saying, well, okay, cool, just avoid that area. But this, especially when it comes to the Cathayan factions, you're going to be dealing with Grimgor, you're going to be dealing with Kolek, you're going to be dealing with so many factions that will actively target you and the other Skaven as you start getting closer to the World's Edge Mountains. This is also still an issue for the Chaos Dwarfs, but admittedly the Chaos Dwarf caravans are a lot better. The issue just keeps getting worse and worse when you start to see everything just kind of go south. And then at that point you just want to ignore the mechanic. And it sucks. I don't think that a key mechanic, which will keep prompting you, by the way, should be ignored. That means that with this Bershiva campaign, as everything stands, by turn 11, caravans are useless. I can't go up north because I'm dealing with Grimgor. I can't go down south because I'm dealing with the Legions of Asgore. And the middle is still going to go through areas that are going to trigger. You can see all the red and yellow markers. There's some green, but by the time that you get to the green, you're already kind of screwed. Now, this isn't so much of an issue when you're playing an easier difficulty, easy or essentially very easy when you put everything down to 0, but normal upwards, this is where the mechanic basically dies. And you know the really funny thing about this, right? The really funny thing is, as you progress through your campaign, so much later than this point, you're going to start dealing with extra caravans, right? Cathay can get another 2, I think, through tech, and some characters can get another one or start with an extra one. So Bershiva can have, I think, 4 total, right? Unless you confederate, I think, with Zhao Ming, and then you can get 5. The Chaos Dwarfs have usually 2 active, I think, but Zatan can get up to 4, I do believe, or 3. By that point, you're not really sending them out. So why is it that a key mechanic has such a point of redundancy, that it's so early into your campaign? It has to be factored in that once your caravans are moving, enemy armies are going to get larger and larger and larger. Not just the spawning ones that will come and attack you, but just like the general ones. You can't upgrade your caravans. You can't really buy new units. You're stuck here with a system that's just awful, and it really needs to be fixed up. Let's take it up a notch. This is from a campaign during one of my live streams, right? So I'm at turn 103. I basically won the game now with Bershiva. There's no need for progression and the rest, right? But this is what happens. There's no point on sending caravans. Even though I own a lot of territory, there's still a lot of bandit movement. So even though it's green, it's still going to be fairly dangerous. And my caravans are useless. I mean, I've got one which has survived a decent amount. But the others, if I make a new one, it's going to be weak. There's no point sending them out. It really sucks because, again, Marienburg has that icon, so I could take advantage of that and pick it up. But it's dangerous. It's too dangerous. There's too many red markers. There's too much bandit activity. And the funny thing is, this whole bandit threat thing, which is supposed to go down, by the way, if you're not sending out caravans and they're not going through those areas, doesn't actually go down. I've not been sending caravans out since around turn 18, maybe less. This was a while ago since I last played Bershiva, but it's always been that case. It's the same thing with Chaos Dwarfs. I play Chaos Dwarfs fairly often when it comes on stream because I really enjoy the Chaos Dwarfs, but I don't see the point in sending out the caravans. I don't see the point in sending out Grand Cathay, and it's a shame. This is a mechanic which is a core feature, and functionally, yes, it works, which I guess is why Creative Assembly haven't really looked at it, but it works in a really bad way. This needs to be fixed up. If they're going to be doing factions with caravans, which, by the way, I still believe that Bershiva really didn't need caravans. I think that it's a weird thing to add into a faction which is supposed to be busy doing other stuff like hunting chaos factions. None of her lore actually goes way into this, right? Yeah, you fight the Tzeentch faction at the end, but, it's the whole thing is like, oh, when a Everchosen rises, the White Tiger comes. It's like, okay, why am I not fighting Archeon? Why is my faction dealing with Chaos Dwarfs rather than Chaos as a whole? But this isn't about Bershiva. This is about anyone who uses the caravan mechanic. So right now, 4 Legendary Lords for Cathay, 3 Legendary Lords for Chaos Dwarfs. What happens when Li Dao, Yin Yin, the Monkey King get added in? What happens if maybe the Dogs of War have caravans? Because it kind of makes sense for merchant caravans to go out from Talia and Estalia, and also the mercenaries to be dealing with that, right? It just feels really odd. Creative Assembly need to look at this down. And this is something that hasn't been an issue recently, by the way. It's been an issue for a while, but I think a lot of people just naturally ignore this mechanic. This needs to be fixed, and it should have been fixed in 8.0. The patch was way too small for a Cathay DLC. And they're going to use the excuse of, oh, it's a smaller DLC, so it's going to be a smaller patch. The problem is key issues need to be fixed up, and this has been a key issue since the beginning of Warhammer 3, and has likely just gotten worse over time. Not likely, it has gotten worse over time. But yeah, I just want to talk about this because it's important that we talk about the issues, right? Again, I love this game. I love this game a lot, but it's not without its flaws, right? I don't think anyone can look at this game unless they are getting directly paid by Creative Assembly and say that there's no flaws. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I feel like, yeah, this needs to be talked about because issues of the game are not negative, right? I don't know if Creative Assembly sees it that way, but people highlighting issues with the game is not a bad thing. It's wanting to see the game do better, right? There's a reason why a lot of people put a lot of money into it and why they put a lot of time into it, right? I've put, close to 5,000 hours into the game so far? I love it. If I didn't, there wouldn't be 5,000 hours into it. But issues like this, core mechanics can't be broken. Same thing with the Kolek issue. I highlighted it again recently, but they claimed it was fixed and it wasn't. And it's disappointing. It is. But yeah, have a good day, everyone. I should be streaming later today on twitch.tv/thegreatbookofgrudges. I'm going to continue the Araby campaign. I didn't finish it. Well, I finished a bit too early yesterday. That's mostly because I wasn't feeling like 100%. I was just really tired. But we're going to be back, and there's going to be a lot more. And we're hopefully going to be back to daily content. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really, really good. See you guys. Bye.